The most important thing from this chapter is to learn to lose fat and never gain it back again unless you want to. You don't have to lose all fat at once. It depends on your overall lifestyle, genetics, motivation, and psychology. Energy deficit is still stress for your body, depending on its rate. And you can enter only some before you burn out, as I did, despite always being able to do whatever it takes for the best possible results. The better results you want, and the more challenging fat loss for you is, the more everything, including mindset, sleep, psychological stress and health must be optimized. To avoid yo dieting and make it as easy as possible. If you wanna get to healthy body fat like our members in this video, you should be able to do it all at once without suffering or yo dieting. But there could be times when you have more psychological stress, have to sleep less, or have many temptations such as parties and so on. So although fat loss should be easy if you're more like them, you could also consider a diet break or lean bulking. To clarify the word diet break used in this video, I mean mainly energy surplus, when your energy intake is a bit higher than expenditure. I chose the term diet break because the most people who finally and sustainably lost fat after tens of years of repeated failings tend to panic when they hear an energy surplus, or they could gain a little bit of weight even if it's water or muscle. So it's usually lean bulking, when we use a slight energy surplus to maximize muscle and strength gain and minimize fat gain. It could last for a few months or even a year, as if your fat loss isn't too rapid. Suppose it decreases your well-being. You'll learn how to do it in the fat loss pace chapter. If your fat loss pace is correct, but you still feel bad, you could also be too lean. It's usually the case when you already shredded and continue cutting to extremely low body fat, and trying to do it all at once. I'll explain this later. So to feel great again, gradually increase your energy intake till you feel great again with a lower body fat. Lower body fat because you want to regain what you've already lost if you do everything correctly, and you won't be in energy surplus for a long time. But know that cumulative energy balance and body fat mass cause hunger. The more shredded you are, the more hunger you feel. I'll explain how to avoid hunger despite being shredded later. So unless you went on a diet break due to higher acute stress, which is advisable mainly for people with tendencies to overeat, for the best results, it's better to lean bulking for a longer time. So your cumulative energy balance equals over time. All cravings and hunger gradually decrease, and you simultaneously build muscle, strength, and minimizing fat gain. Because most of that energy surplus your body uses to build muscle, not fat. This process teaches you how to never regain fat uncontrollably, and how to eat more without gaining fat. If you are advanced, you must gain some fat to build visible muscle. Yet, you shouldn't get much fat if set correctly. Suppose you are not bulking for a long time. The more challenging fat loss is, the longer your diet break should be. Suppose you have a lot of acute stress and less sleep and can't progress with a sufficient training volume. In that case, it's better to use energy maintenance when energy intake equals energy expenditure, to avoid unnecessary fat gain and muscle loss while minimizing stress. Energy maintenance is also convenient if you get ill, so you avoid unnecessary fat gain and muscle loss. In that case, your diet break would be short, till your lifestyle returns to normal and you can progress with sufficient training volume. I don't recommend lean bulking shorter than 12 weeks. Still, you can use even shorter diet breaks if you have a lot of acute stress or lack of sleep. Yet know that being busy is the best condition for fat loss if you train sufficiently and stick to your nutrition plan. I'll show you extremely time-efficient meal prep in the nutrition plan chapter. The great days for diet breaks are also party days or holidays. Suppose you can't progress with sufficient training volume. Find more in the cheat meal chapter. However, if you can progress with sufficient training volume, you can lean bulk for a shorter period to maximize muscle and strength gain while minimizing fat gain and also maximizing enjoying those holidays and party days. Higher energy intake improves recovery to some extent. So you can train with a higher training volume, increasing energy expenditure and building muscle faster. So you gradually must increase your energy intake not to lose weight. That's awesome, because once you feel great again, you start losing fat with a higher energy intake. So you'll be eating more depending on the adaptability of your metabolism and how much muscle and strength you build. You might need more sleep after transitioning from fat loss to lean bulking, because your body wants to recover after a stressful period, and you also train harder, so it needs more recovery. The more you limited food sources during fat loss, and the higher your cravings and hunger are, the slower you should start eating high-caloric alternatives. At least in the first few weeks of a diet break or lean bulk, add a volume of food sources you ate during the fat loss. You maximize satiety, and once you feel you won't binge despite eating more high-caloric alternatives, you can start eating them. Or even have a controlled cheat meal without gaining fat. Once you feel great again, you can go to a caloric deficit and get to a lower body fat than ever before. But know that cumulative energy balance and body fat mass cause hunger. So unless you went on a diet break due to higher acute stress, which is advisable mainly for people with tendencies to overeat, for the best results, it's better to lean bulking for a longer time. Cause if you feel great with a higher energy intake, doesn't guarantee that you feel the same in a caloric deficit. Due to this simple long-term approach, our members and I start losing fat again with lower body fat than ever before while eating more. Despite previous failure, we gradually reach lower body fat than we thought possible without suffering. But 95% of people underestimate it or need to learn how to do it properly, cause they usually continue with the fat loss despite the fact they shouldn't, or increase their energy intake too much, gain fat, panic, lower their energy intake before they should, and quickly rebound, or they increase their energy intake too little, such as in the case of a reverse diet, suffer too long, burn out, and quickly rebound. If you're losing fat too quickly when you're already lean, unlike people in this video, you could also get lightheadedness, chills, and disrupt sleep. Because if you're shredded, there also tend to be sleep disruption, lower blood pressure, and even erectile dysfunction. Or, in the case of women, losing the menstrual cycle. So unless you're in the contest prep, I recommend avoiding the state when for men, you losing erection, and for women, the menstrual cycle. However, a bit lower libido is normal when shredded and in an energy deficit. But once you get into caloric surplus, all those things should return to normal again. Or it means that the body fat is too low for you at the time. I'm saying at the time, because for example, I have all these symptoms even to get to this body fat. Because sleep, stress, nutrition, training and health were poorly set by my previous trainer. You can see that I'm much fatter than, for example here, when I had none of the mentioned symptoms. Only shorter sleep, because if you're too lean, your body thinks there's a lack of food, although you're not hungry due to optimizing your nutrition. Sleep should be normal again after a few weeks of energy surplus or maintenance. And if it's still unsustainable, although you are doing everything explained to improve your sleep quality, you're too lean for now. Another cue telling it's unsustainable is if you can't eat all that food volume regularly to avoid hunger. Because the more shredded you are, the more volume of low-caloric fillers you should eat to avoid hunger and cravings. For example, in this picture, I've already eaten 3 kilos of veggies that day. I usually eat about half to 1.5 kilos of veggies daily in energy surplus due to my high appetite and lower body fat percentage. It's okay to do it for a few weeks until you start eating more high-caloric foods that don't take so much time to eat, while you gradually decrease lower caloric fillers intake to more sustainable level. On the other hand, most members I showed today eat about half kilo of veggies daily even in a caloric deficit. Cause they're much fatter and much less muscular. A diet break is connected to cheat meal chapter and how to avoid fat gain during bulking chapter. Watch the full video on my YouTube channel. Subscribe.